JD Vance called a group of young conservatives aged 24 to 31 children, which begs the question, is there anyone in this Trump administration that isn't self-reporting being a pedophile? Vance said this in relation to a bunch of text messages being leaked from a young Republican group chat by one of their own, Gavin Wax. Though to the credit of Republicans, they have toned down their rhetoric. Where they told Mike Pence that they were going to kill him and rocked up to the Capitol with a guillotine, they are now just calling for Gavin Wax to be deported. A registered Republican, an American-born citizen. I've said they've scaled back the rhetoric, not scaling back on being fucking stupid. All right. We're off to a great start. I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Okay, we're off to a flyer. I guess my first initial thought is, are we surprised? Are we surprised that a bunch of conservative men, I'm assuming they're men at the moment, I can't see them as being anything other than white conservative men. Are we surprised that these conservative men feel the wanting and needing to expose themselves like this as neo-Nazis, especially under a regime that has no problem platforming said Nazis? They can debate life starts at conception. A clump of cells is technically a child. Where does that line end for Republicans if they're considering people older than me children? Some of these young Republicans look like they crawled out of the womb at 20 years old. Others look like butch lesbians. But I don't seem to remember the phase of my childhood where I said I loved Hitler, where I called people of color monkeys, when I said rape was epic. I was taught slurs were bad when I turned 9. I turned 10, it was still the case. I turned 11 and got a little bit too old for my Catholic priest. The group of young Republicans represents everything that is wrong with this current Trump administration and everything wrong with being a conservative in big 2025. Okay, everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. When do we bring that side out? You're giving nationals too much credit and expecting the Jew to be honest. Great, I love Hitler. Also, we are officially under consideration for a Trump endorsement. Shocker. I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch a monkey play ball. If we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked for real, for real. Kick the bitch. Boom, they're dead. It was rape. He also hates Jews. They love the watermelon people. Stay in the closet, what I assume is the F slur. That girl is fully R-slurred, I guess. The current Trump administration represents a certain type of adulthood, an immature one that doesn't age up, much like Trump's taste in women. It's a reason a decent chunk of Gen Z men voted for Trump in the last election. For them, it's a return of masculinity, of simpler times, where slurs and racism were laughed at. A return of the times where you could make silly little jokes like, bring back the gas chambers, and they wouldn't get cancelled. The return of the Trump administration in terms of masculinity and power symbolized something that these sorts of low IQ people could get excited about. A shift in the scales that they think constantly weighed them down. The same sort of people who would exclaim rape allegations could end someone's career, and then doing a 180 and voting a rapist as president. It just so happens that it marks the return of neo-Nazism and white supremacy. Vice President Vance was able to dismiss these leaked text messages as kids being kids, because that's what it means to be a Republican. A child who constantly thinks they're the victim of everything, who cry when they don't get their way, who get emotional when their diaper fills up, kind of like Trump's. These people in the article, these leaked text messages, people had full intent of running for office, right? These aren't social media influence. These are people who want power, who want to be in the political atmosphere, right? And again, the Republican Party has given them a safe space to be anti-Semitic, to be racist, because what else is there to be a Republican these days? I've mentioned this idea before, hegemonic masculinity, a type of masculinity that represents power over enemies and peers, control and autonomy over women. And it's exactly how we got to the point where Republicans feel comfortable enough to say things like, I love Hitler, rape is epic, which is ironic coming from the same group of people who cried over me saying Charlie Kirk was a holy person with a holy net. When I said Charlie Kirk was a victim of something he loved most about America, gun violence. Who cried when I used in-context clips of Charlie Kirk being racist. Republicans in power don't feel the need to hold these comments accountable because they believe them. They believe joking about gas chambers and Hitler are fine because they don't care. Nothing will be done to hold them accountable or address it. Like, you know, the Epstein files. It's just another thing that Republicans can brush under the bed. You know what I used to brush under the bed? Crusty socks when I was a kid. Is this another one? Oh my God, it's Bobby Walker. Hey, he looks like a Republican. Hey. To look so soulless, so seemingly young, that's an achievement. All right. Another one. Just dropped. God, why do all Republicans look like the same variation of this guy? Is this what crawled out of the couch after JD Vance was done fucking it? At the core of Republicanism is a tenet of adulthood and maturity that is imagined by adolescent children. An adolescent president cheered on by adolescent constituents, voted in by an adolescent voter base that now can't discern themselves from Nazis. Not at the behest of anything tangible, but their own view of what constitutes power over their enemies.
This is the kind of rhetoric, the kind of behavior that Donald Trump has inspired. All of those people have sworn allegiance to Donald Trump. It's not by accident.
That's exactly it. And Donald Trump has had no problem surrounding himself with people with similar ideals. It is the Republican Party. That is what they stand for. It's disturbing, truly. This administration represents a distinct lack of social awareness, of self-awareness, which tends to attract the dumbest niches of people who also demonstrate that lack of anything sort of resembling critical thinking. I would say it's unbecoming of a leadership team, but they voted in a pedophile rapist, so who the fuck am I kidding? For as long as we have an adolescent president running the show and a conservative base that stands for nothing other than their own personal gain, leftists will have to burden the chains of maturity and deal with fascists the way we seem fit.